What is up, sports geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode, another fantasy football episode, joined by Alec, as always, Mr. Alec. Good to have you on. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I sure did. Ate a lot of food and
Yeah,
watched Rico Dowdle absolutely tear it up, just like you called it. So
yeah,
Dowdle got
dude.
us off to a good start. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Rico Dowdle's the man.
Yeah.
He looked a little bigger than I thought. He looked like an actual lead back on Thursday.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, he played great. He ran all over the Giants just like everybody does pretty much. But no, he was great. Went into Sunday, Bucky Irving, Lad McConkey. Lad McConkey, I mean, had a low snap share because of battling injuries. Still put up 20 plus points. Bucky Irving goes for 25 plus. And then Cortland Sutton finishes it off last night with over 100 yards as well. So absolutely great week. Great week from our six guys there. We're back with six more. Now, this week is a massive week for fantasy implications. You are probably one, maybe 2 weeks left of your regular season here, and it is a massive bye week. There are a ton of players on bye. I know several leagues where there's teams with their entire bench is on bye week. So that's not much
Yep.
of a start-sit decision. It's more just you have to start them.
Yep.
But we have six guys here that are going to be on that fringe there that we think you need to be starting. And we're coming off of a week that we just absolutely crushed it on. So last thing real quick, YouTube's telling me over 96% of you guys are not subscribed. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's easy. And it helps out the channel. It tells us that you guys are liking the content that we're putting out there. Telling you guys to go start guys like Rico Dowdle, Bucky Irving, Lad McConkey going for 20 plus. Other than that, though, I'm done with my little spiel there. I'll turn it over to you for actual fantasy football talk here.
Yeah. Okay. So my guy of the week. If you're watching this, you probably put claims in for this guy. It's Isaac Guerendo. He's definitely just. I don't even know how to kind of portray this. He is the league winner. If you went zero RB, if you have any fab left, you need to blow every dollar on Isaac Guerendo if he's available in your league. He is going to be the 49ers lead back. 49ers have not played well the last couple of weeks. Last week, I don't really blame them. It was snowy. But Jordan Mason and CMC going on IR. Isaac Guerendo is probably going to get like a 90% snap share.
Yeah.
He's going to be the man in probably an offense that bounces back the last 6 games. 6 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got 6 weeks left or 5?
I think 5.
Okay. Sorry. I mean, this is just it's
No,
going by too quick.
Yeah.
No, but Isaac Guerendo this week against the Bears, I see them getting back on track. I see him getting 15 to 20 touches. I think he's going to ball out.
Yeah. No, I love Guerendo here. I mean, last week, as soon as CMC goes down, I mean, I started, like, I'm in a couple leagues with no waivers, so it's just, pick him up as you can. Jordan Mason was flying off of him. I mean, immediately, like, if you're watching, I mean, you can – CMC falls down before he gets to the sideline. Jordan Mason is no longer on waivers. And Guerendo should have the exact same reaction, because this offensive line, this offense in general with the 49ers is good enough in which if you're going to give a running back 15 to 20 touches, you have to be starting him, just like Jordan Mason was when CMC was down. Obviously, Guerendo is not CMC, but a 90% snap share in an offense that's should be good and has a good offensive line and a great schematic coach, Kyle Shanahan. It's something that you need. So I love Guerendo. I got him in a league that I actually am going to be in the playoffs in, and I think he's going to be my league winner. Now I also had CMC in that league, so I can't.
But I mean, so say you're a CMC, owner. I mean, you're still going to get 75, 80%, maybe not of prime CMC, but CMC the last 3 weeks was doing nothing.
Yeah.
This actually might be like a boost.
Yes. Now, somebody that is playing like prime CMC right now is Bucky Irving. Yeah. And that's my first start here. And I've been on Bucky Irving for 2 weeks in a row. This is probably the last week that I can claim him as a must start, because I think after this he's pretty much a must start no matter what. But Bucky Irving here, I mean, he's coming off back-to-back 27-point weeks. He is dominating this backfield, and we said it last week in that 2 weeks ago his performance, he averaged 7 yards a carry, and Rachaad White averaged 3. That's against that Giants defense that we had Dowdle, and he just torched them. Right now, you come into this week and I was questionable. Like, going into halftime, he's at like 50 yards, right? Not playing great. But then second half just absolutely dominates the entirety of the second half. I mean, running all over. Carolina, just like we expected him to, right? But I mean, the second half was like a coming out party for him, and it was spectacular from Bucky Irving. I'd expect the same thing from him this week. You're playing Vegas. Vegas's run defense is better than Carolina's and the Giants, but it's not all that much better. And you're winning the backfield more and more every single week. His touches are only going to go up. I don't think his hip is a bad thing at all. I mean, he downplayed it on Monday. He said he feels much better from Sunday to Monday. I would assume he's going to play. And I think Bucky Irving is going to be going. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he flirts with 20 plus again this week.
Yeah, especially, you throw in a touchdown there on the goal line, you throw in a receiving touchdown, he could get to that 20 easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're using him a ton right now.
Yeah, and they need him. I mean, if they're going to make a playoff run, they're 6-6. They definitely have a chance for the division now. They're going to lean on him and Rachaad White. I think Bucky Irving is way better than Rachaad White, so I think he's going to just be a little more efficient. So, no, I love him this week.
Yeah, I do think it's funny because like Rachaad White the last couple of years, it's been somebody for me. I've tried to avoid at all costs because I don't believe in him as a running back. I believe in the situation, similar like Zamir White coming into the season, right? You believe in the situation, but I don't necessarily believe in him as a running back. Yep. And at some point, you're going to have a Bucky Irving come along, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, we didn't believe in you as a running back either. Thank God we found somebody that can run, and that's exactly what Bucky Irving's doing right now.
Yep. No, I agree. He at the beginning of the year, we were trying to talk about maybe he wasn't big enough. He's pretty he's pretty big. I mean, he probably weighs 205, 210. I think that's big enough.
Yeah. I mean, and he's also just like, he's playing mentally physical. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you could be a physical guy. Derrick Henry's a physical guy, right? And he plays mentally, physically as well, right? He's going to, put his foot in the ground and try to run through you. Bucky Irving is playing that way, right? Obviously he's not Derrick Henry. He's not as physical as Derrick Henry, but mentally it's not like he's sitting here trying to avoid every hit. If it's 3rd and 1 and he's getting hit at the line of scrimmage, he's putting his shoulder into your chest and he's falling forward, right? Yep. And that's exactly what people didn't think we'd see out of Bucky Irving, and it is what we are seeing. So, I'm all over him this week. And after this week, we will no longer include him in the show because I believe he's going to go for 20 plus again, and then it's a lock for your starter, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'll go my second guy here. I got Tyrone Tracy against the Saints this week. Saints are 6th worst on opposing running back points per game. I could see a Tyrone Tracy week, maybe a couple more dump downs than he got last week. He got that touchdown on the goal line last week against Dallas. I think Tyrone Tracy is starting to get into that territory, kind of like Bucky Irving, where you just start him. It's not like a must start. It's not, hey, maybe I'm going to play my flex this week. Like, he's in your flex. And I know Jonathan Taylor has a bye this week, but like, they're kind of getting into that territory where I'm starting them over Jonathan Taylor, like kind of bigger names. It's kind of scary when you start talking about that. Mm-hmm. But I love Tyrone Tracy this week. I think his role in this offense, he did fumble. And then was that 2 weeks ago when Devin Singletary got that vulture touchdown? He had like 2 carries and that was the 1-yarder.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago when I think you picked him and he had that vulture touchdown.
Yeah. So I think this past week kind of just showed that, I think he's back to his regular role. He only had 11 touches, but they were also losing pretty significantly till the end. So I love Tyrone Tracy this week in kind of a bounce back week.
Yeah, no, I do too. And I think that he's in a spot, like you said, where, he had like the fumble against Carolina cost them the game.
Yep.
So like, I completely understand the following week against Tampa Bay saying, hey, look, we're not going to give you a goal line carry almost as punishment for that. Right. But I think realistically, like you look at his snap share is one thing. Like touches mean a lot, but snap share I think means more when it comes to actually trying to forecast fantasy outlook. Right. And against Tampa Bay, he had a 41% snap share. Before that, he had gone 80% in the Washington Carolina games. Has that really bad fumble, it goes back down to 41. Dallas bounces back to 73. So he had his bad fumble, he paid the price for it, and then he bounced back against Dallas. I think we're going to continue, like you're saying, continue to see him progress, but probably back into the 80s there for the snap share. And you're playing against, like you said, New Orleans Saints defense that's not necessarily going to torch you at all or make it really difficult for a running back. And they're not going to torch you on offense. So it's not like you're going to be in a blowout game, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I love him this week.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. So my second one here, I'm going to go with Jordan Addison. So I have two receivers left here. Jordan Addison's going to be the first one I go with, and he's playing an extremely high snap share, which is good. Coming into the season, we thought he would. Week one, has some. He's been battling injury all week or all year, but the last 2 weeks, 94% snap share each week. That's something that's really important to me. Justin Jefferson obviously is a stud. 2 weeks ago, Jefferson had like one catch for 9 yards, but Addison had a great week. This past week, Jefferson had a great week, and Addison still had a decent week, right? He had 4 catches for 54 yards. So not bad. But I think that this Atlanta secondary is one that the same reason we were on Ladd McConkey last week, right? They gave up 300 yards to Bo Nix 2 weeks ago. Last week, they gave up 119 yards, 114 yards to Ladd McConkey. I believe maybe all of them coming before in the first half, if not in the first 3 quarters. And then Ladd McConkey, is fighting the injury. His snap share he's not necessarily out there as much. And they only end up throwing for like 180 yards. But Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer are not good receivers. So
No.
I'm not necessarily scared of the fact that Justin Herbert in this Chargers offense only threw for 180 on Atlanta, because if you take Ladd McConkey out of the picture, that offense, the weapons stink. Right? Whereas this Minnesota offense, you have Hawkinson, who if you take Ladd McConkey out of that team, Hawkinson would be the number one option. Jefferson obviously would be the number one option. Addison would be the number one options. You have 3 guys that would go into there and be better than what they had. And Ladd McConkey was torching Atlanta in the first half. I mean, it was crazy. He put up 20 plus when we had him last week, right? But if he doesn't get hurt and he's not battling injuries, I would be surprised if he would have put up like a JSN in week 2 where he's like 14 catches for
150, 160, somewhere in there. Yeah, for sure.
So, no, I mean, but I think that this Atlanta secondary is something to target for me. And I think that Jordan Addison, Jet, don't get me wrong, Jet is probably going to get his 80 to 100, but I think Addison's also going to get his 50 to 80. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a touchdown, and I like him for that.
Yeah, no, I love Addison this week for sure. Just for the same reasons you mentioned, Atlanta definitely targeting them, especially if Kirk Cousins is going to continue to throw picks. It just gives the opposing guys more opportunity. So I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you for your third and final one here.
Yeah, so we actually were talking about this guy yesterday when we were texting. I'm going Calvin Ridley this week. They're playing the Jags. Kind of a similar thing. I'm just going to kind of target people that are playing the Jags defense. And I think Calvin Ridley's due for a bounce back week. He kind of had a more quiet week last week. I kind of just want to look at his like game log. I'll pull it up, but while I'm pulling it up, he has just been kind of consistent since the beginning of the year when he wasn't popping off that much. He's had a couple 20+ point weeks. When Will Levis is on, Calvin Ridley is balling out, and I mean balling out. He is a high-end wide receiver. He's probably a mid-wide receiver 2, but he's probably even a low-end wide receiver 1 when Will Levis has his stuff together that week.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on Ridley. I think that the only concerning thing at all is how quality are his targets going to be. And that's something that we've seen all year, right? It's what every good receiver in a bad situation battles. But this is a week that I think it's going to be quality. I do think this Jacksonville secondary can't cover anybody, and they've proven that all year. If you're going to get quality targets in 1 week of the year, it's going to be against Jacksonville here.
Yep. And so I pulled up his game log. So I remember the 1 week we were talking about it in week 7, talking about week 6. It was right after the bye week. He had 8 targets, no catches. We're like, there's no way that happens again. And then following that, he's had 9, 15, 8, 9, 6, 6, 7. So he's going to get his targets in. He hasn't had less than 10 fantasy points except for last week. So I think he's a surefire flex if you have him.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, and I'm going to go ahead and group 2 guys for my final one here. So I have Ladd McConkey as my final one, but Ladd is dealing with injuries. There's a chance he doesn't play. Right, we're recording this on Tuesday. We say this every week. We can only know so much about the injury news. So if Ladd if he doesn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, maybe gets a limited Friday, and is not going to end up playing, then I feel like I don't need to justify Ladd too much. What we've seen out of him is he is by far Justin Herbert's favorite target for a good reason too. He goes to him all the time. He's peppering him with targets. 12 targets on a 63% snap share is spectacular. That's what he just put up this past week. And he's playing against Kansas City, who just let Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers torch them. In which I think are very Bowers over the middle. McConkey likes to hang out over the middle. And I think Myers, in that wide receiver, that slot receiver running that a little bit. Trey Tucker torched him. He ran the slot receiver, right? This Kansas City Chiefs defense just got torched by Aiden O'Connell. So I would expect Justin Herbert and McConkey to beat him as well. My final guy here real quick, though, if McConkey doesn't play, I'm going to throw a sixth, if he does play, seventh player out there, and it's Tony Pollard.
Okay.
For a lot of the reasons that you said with the just Jacksonville defense. It's just that I also just think that Tony Pollard is going to have a good week in the sense that this Jacksonville defense can't stop anything right now.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard had an okay week this week, and he put up 8 points. He put up nearly 9 points, was projected nearly 11. So he missed it by 2 points. He did have a fumble, and they just got blown out.
Yep.
So I think that for Tony Pollard, you're going to get more carries. You're playing against a worse defense. It's going to be a closer game. Everything is shaping up for him to have a significantly better week. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence isn't playing after that nasty hit from Azeez Al-Shaair, but I think that it's going to be a lot closer game. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a positive game script. And I think that realistically, that this Jacksonville defense can't stop Pollard. They can't stop Ridley. I think those are going to be the two beneficiaries of this just crummy defense in general.
Yeah, and we've talked about Pollard before. Like, if he's going to continue to get 4+ targets a week, the floor is very high.
Yes.
And then, along with, 2 weeks ago against Houston in a game that wasn't a blowout, he had 24 carries along with 6 targets. So, listen, fire up Tony Pollard, fire up anybody that's playing Jacksonville's defense the rest of the year. But if you're going to put a bet on it, Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard are probably going to have good weeks this week.
Yeah, I was just looking here to see who plays Jacksonville for the next couple weeks. So you'll have the Jets in Week 15, which is okay.
It's kind of gross. They're just kind of gross. Like, Breece Hall's a beast, but they just don't really give him the ball.
Right. And then you have no idea if Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams, whichever one is going to have a good week, whichever one's going to be absolutely terrible for you.
Yeah.
And then the following week is against Vegas in Week 16. So that would be what? Playoff semifinals.
Brock Bowers, fire him up.
Yes, sir. And then they play Tennessee again in the what would be the fantasy football finals. So Tennessee's they get 2 Jacksonville matchups here. So don't be surprised when Ridley and or Pollard come back up in 4 weeks here.
If you're in a super flex league and you're really desperate for quarterback, you might want to start picking up Will Levis right now.
Yeah. Can
you imagine you're in a fantasy football championship? You got to start Will Levis in your super flex,
and he wins it for you because he puts
that'd be unbelievable
against Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I would be surprised
because you listened to 2 guys that popped up on your recommended YouTube videos.
Yeah, and you're still listening to them right now for some odd reason, but
that'd be crazy.
But all right, that's all we got. Though we got 7 guys this week. So 7: Bucky Irving, Jordan Addison, Ladd McConkey, Isaiah Guerendo, or is Isaac Guerendo? Isaiah Guerendo.
Isaac.
I don't know why I wanted to say Isaiah. Bucky Irving, Jordan Addison, Ladd McConkey, Isaac Guerendo, Tyrone Tracy Jr., Calvin Ridley, and Tony Pollard. So 7 guys this week in a massive, massive week. Not only for our 7 guys here, massive week in fantasy football, a ton of bye weeks. And these 7 guys could go out, clinch you a playoff seed, get you one week closer, 1 win closer to the playoffs, whatever it is. Maybe if your playoffs start crazy early, they win you a playoff game. I don't know.
A couple of my playoffs start this week. It's insane.
Yeah, if you do a 2-week championship, you probably start this week, I should say.
It's just tough though because there's so many buys.
Yeah. Like I don't want to lose a playoff game because of buys. That would piss me off. So
yeah.
So those are our 7 guys. Huge week here. Best of luck to everybody playing fantasy football this week. It's coming down to it. The nitty-gritty playoffs coming at you here soon. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.